Okay. And yeah, so you guys start Wheeling Clayworks.
Awesome. So, hello. We're Adam and Beth of East Wheeling Clayworks. We are here in our shop. Behold the chaos behind us.
Yes.
And we are
Potters
from Wheeling, West Virginia.
Hello, nice to see you guys again.
Yeah, nice great to see you too, Trish.
All right, we're gonna go to Jess.
Hi, I'm Jess Rieger Davis. I'm a watercolor artist and teaching artist from Wheeling, West Virginia.
Okay. Edgington Studio. Did I say that right, I hope?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Emily Rouse. I'm in Wheeling, West Virginia. I own Edgington Studio and we make clothing.
Cool. Natalie.
Sorry. Sorry, my computer kept freezing.
Oh, okay.
I'm Shapeless Flame, and I'm an illustrator and cartoonist, and I'm from Bethesda, Ohio.
What part of the ACRE program are you coming from? I'm just trying to orient myself with this program.
What do you mean?
Are you part of the ACRE sponsorships with
Wheeling? Yeah.
With Wheeling. Okay.
Yeah, I'm only like 20 minutes from Wheeling, so.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, North Folk Jewelry Design.
Hey there, I'm Tina Rush with North Fork Jewelry Design, and as the name would insinuate, I make jewelry, and I am in Pine Grove, West Virginia.
Okay, Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina Angelo from Weirton, West Virginia, and I also make handmade jewelry along with my sister Stacy, who's on her way.
I see her. She just came in. Daniel. I think you're muted.
Yeah, I am muted. These introductions are always hard because there's just a lot. So Daniel Finsley, owner of Finsley Creative. I, for lack of a better term, chief marketing officer. I do a lot of things. Branding industry, identity creation, brand messaging, photography, video, websites, collateral. I'm sure I'm missing like 9 or 10 things here.
What
but
would you be selling at the what would you be selling at the holiday market is what I'm interested in.
Oh yeah, nothing. I just wanted to be part of the group. I didn't want to feel left out.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Great. I do a lot of things too because I'm the only employee of Handmade Arcade. So I do nonprofit accounting, grant writing, graphic design, web development. So like
all the hats.
All the hats. So you're in company with you're in a cohort of people who all do the same. Sid.
Hi, I am Sid Weiler. Thank you for getting my last name right. That rarely happens. I am an illustrator and designer and animator, and I do a whole bunch of stuff. Stuff that I sell at shows is mostly print stickers, pins of my work, as well as some DIY handmade natural dye products with DIY screen printing designs over top of them. So kind of a mix of stuff. Got that good old brain that just kind of does everything at once. So I make everything and I sell as much as I can.
Cool.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Stacy, I believe your sister Christina already went, but I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Sorry that I was late.
That's okay.
Stacy Angelo. I'm the other part of Woody Voyager. So we make handmade goods for the offbeat soul. Our mediums are fabric. So the necklaces are hand embroidered and the earrings are made from wood with epoxy resin and some leather as well.
You guys did Handmade Arcade last year, didn't you?
We did, yeah.
Cool. And I think Amanda's the only one I didn't call on.
Yeah, I don't have a video. I don't have a webcam.
But that's okay.
I'm Amanda Carney. I run Cat's Paw Art Studio, and I kind of wear 2 different business hats. The studio itself, the bills are mostly paid through custom framing, but whenever I do fairs and festivals and conventions and things like that, I sell my personal work, mostly paintings, prints of the paintings, little take me like stickers, postcards, things like that. So I also do a little bit of everything, but specifically for Handmade Arcade, I will be selling my original work.
Your original work and prints of your original work.
Yes, yes.
Great, great. All right, I'm going to talk about Handmade Arcade. I've got about 20 slides. I talk fast. I have 2 screens, so I'm going to be sharing my screen over here. So while I'm talking to you, I'm probably going to be looking over there, so it might feel weird, but that's what's going to happen. Stop me if you have questions. I may not see the chat while I'm going, so feel free to just interrupt, turn your speaker on and interrupt. I'm just going to give you a real quick overview about what Handmade Arcade is, what you can expect the day of, and then we're going to talk about like booth display stuff, marketing, merchandising, all of that fun stuff that you have to do this. All right, so let me oh, come on, Trisha, you're smart. Why do you never know how to do this? View. So come on, work with me. Sorry, guys. I'm like it. I do this every time I do. If somebody just wants to, here we go. There it is. Ha ha ha. Found it. Nope. I don't want that. I don't want notes. There we go. Okay, cool. All right. So we've been around since 2004. We are, we're the biggest holiday market in Pittsburgh. We believe in the power of making. We're a nonprofit. We support local makers, events with, we pursue partnerships with other organizations that support youth minority makers, rural makers, which is why we work a lot with Creative Business Accelerator. So this, in the past, that we've sponsored different branches of their maker cohorts that they support. So this year they wanted to do 20 tables with ACRE. So here we are together. And we just have, over the years, have had thousands upon thousands of makers participating in our events since 2004. Our big holiday market is every December. It's always the first weekend after Thanksgiving, so you can always count on that. The dates vary. Last year we had over 11,000 attendees. So this is like a super high profile, highly anticipated marketplace. People come from all over. They make a weekend of it. They come to they come from out of town. They make it like a holiday shopping event for themselves and family and friends. So it is a big platform. You will be able to sell a ton of stuff if you prepare yourself well. If you are concerned about inventory and what to bring, I'm happy to talk to anyone individually about that. What I'll do is look at your website or look at your products, look at your price points, and tell you what I think will sell best, and help you work backwards from, like, say if you set a goal, like I want to sell X amount of money or X amount of product, I can help you try to figure out what you'll need to set a goal. The good news about this program is that you know that you're going to be doing the event, so you can start planning accordingly. The makers who apply as through our application process, they will not be notified until mid-August. So when when you're going into the holiday season, you're not just doing our event, you're doing lots and lots of events. So you want to make sure you have enough inventory for all the events, plus an event that brings in over 11,000 people in a day. Last year, the makers who filled out the survey reported over $600,000 was spent just solely like in maker sales from just on Saturdays. So, and the event's Friday, December 1st and 2nd. Why participate? I think I went through that already. It's the biggest thing in Pittsburgh at the holiday. So here's the exposure you'll get. You guys are going to get posts on the holiday. When we start our marketing, everyone with this cohort will get I don't know yet if you will get a post individually or if you'll get, like, we'll group you together. I think the contract has me doing posts for the different areas, like all of the makers together. So there's 4 areas, so there'll be 5 makers in each post, but you'll get an individual post. So Katie and I are going to work out a form that you're going to have to fill out soon, where you will provide me with marketing images that you're going to want to use and some other information that I'll need for that. That I normally would collect if you applied through the traditional route, but because it's you're coming in through a different avenue, I'm not collecting that data, and I like to have it all in one spreadsheet. So you'll get a lot of hits around the holiday time. We get a lot of people coming to, people liking, and there's a lot of traffic on our website and our social media. The event logistics that you need to know about. The value of the booth that you're being given is $370. So if you were coming in through the traditional route, that's what you would be paying. It's a 2-day event. I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. You'll get a 10 by 10 foot display space. You'll get 1 8-foot by 2.5 foot table, which is pretty standard, and 2 chairs. You'll get load in and load out assistance from the convention center staff. And we have a virtual, so during the pandemic, we created an immersive virtual market, which we've now pivoted to make it into like a catalog. And the way I like to talk about it when I get interviewed or talk, or for the press or for on TV, which happens, I talk about it as like a catalog. Like when you're a kid and you got the toy catalog at Christmas time, you paged through it and you circled what you wanted. You can do that with our virtual catalog. We'll open it up about 10 days before the event. People can pre-shop. Last year we had over 26,000 people on the site while the virtual catalog was open. So like, it's really, really dumb. It's like really, really, really dumb to not do a page. I can't force you to do a page, but it's like really a bad decision not to, because so many people come to our website, and we keep it open after the site. So if somebody saw you at Handmade Arcade and they were like, oh, I really love that maker, Wheeling Clayworks, like, I didn't buy anything, I never made it back to their table, it was so crowded, then go to our catalog, find you, and order from you directly. Another upside of the virtual, well, I'll talk about the virtual market again, but again, it's a really good idea to do it. Friday, you'll load in. So this is because you're coming from out of town. This is important. We do load in on Friday we used to do it from 12 to 4, but that's cutting it too close. We're doing it from 11 to 3 this year. So if you work a full-time job, you're going to have to plan to take a day off. There's no ways around it. That's the only time we have access to the loading dock. We have access to Teamsters. You will be able to drive up directly to your table. Last year we were in 1 hall. This year we're going back to the 2 halls, which means we'll have 2 loading docks, which will make driving in and out. Last year was like a cluster. If you were there, I've been a part of the Handmade Arcade Planning Committee since 2010. We've been at the convention center since 2011. Last year was the worst load in and load out we'd ever had. I don't know why, but I know why, because we only had 1 ramp, and when it was time to load out, some jerk parked their car on our loadout ramp, and we couldn't load out ramp, and we couldn't get you guys up to the thing. And I tried not to leave a mean review to the convention center, but I did, because I was really mad about it, because I get real tired and grumpy at the end of the day. So you'll set up on Friday, and then there is a preview party that you'll be required to stay at. It is from 5 to 7:30. Now, we only sell about 600 tickets to that. We give away more than 200, so about 800 people will come to it. You can have, so the nice thing about the Friday preview party is it's a low-key ramp-up event to the craziness of the next day. You may not sell anything on Friday night. You may sell a bunch of things, but what's good about it is that you're set up and you're calm and you have time. In the past, prior to doing this way, we used to start loading at 5 a.m. on Saturday, and it was awful. And so any makers who've been with Handmade Arcade for a long time appreciate this Friday setup. About $70,000 was spent last year at the Friday market, so like money is spent, but it's just a smaller crowd. There's an open bar, not an open bar. There's a cash bar. There's food, and we'll close it up at 7:30. And you will be able, and the doors will get locked, and your stuff will be safe. The only thing I would take with you, there's security on site, everything is locked. You can leave all your product there. Just take your money and any kind of credit card processing with you. I also would use this time to have helpers at your booth so that you can go around and shop and see what other people are making, make new friends, meet new, see old friends. It's a really good time to mingle with crafters and get to know the community. I'm not sure what it's like in other towns, but Pittsburgh has a really, really, really friendly and open craft community. And, people like come to our events, make friends, and it's just a very like supportive environment.
Can I field a question in here real
Of
quick?
course, yes.
So do you think I've been going back and forth with this idea for a while? Because whenever I do like multiple day conventions and it's like more than half an hour away from my home, Pittsburgh's like maybe 40 to 60 minutes depending on traffic away from me. I'm usually in a hotel. Do you think it would be a good idea to, you know, grab one of the hotel rooms for the weekend at the convention center?
Yeah, so we will get a room block at the convention center at the West.
Oh, really?
Yeah, last year we got room blocks for like I think $140. I don't know if there's a Steelers game that weekend. That always changes the price. But we're going to also get a room blocks at the Drury, which is just like it's like literally like down an alley a little further away. I think it'll be less expensive as long as there's not a Steelers game that weekend. Shouldn't affect the Friday night prices, but it might affect the night if you stay from Saturday to Sunday. If there's a home Steelers game, sometimes they won't even give us very many rooms from Saturday to Sunday. Okay. But I stay. I live 20 minutes outside of the city of Pittsburgh, and I do not want to come home because I have to be back. I come back to the convention center at 6 a.m. The earliest you can come back is at 7. So I highly recommend getting a room if it's within your budget. And when closer to the event, we'll have room block. You'll get a link. So
awesome. Thank you.
So here's more Friday night details. They lock the hall. I already talked about this. So Saturday morning, you can come back to your booth anytime after 7 a.m. I'm usually back in the convention center sometime between 5:30 and 6. I unlock the doors and you can get in anytime after 7. We need you to be there at 8:30. We've changed up Saturday a little bit from last year to this year. So this is actually I'm excited about this. This is exciting. If you've been to Handmade Arcade before, you have to be back at your booth at 8:30. Early bird shopping, we're extending it a half an hour from 9 to 11 because 2 hours isn't enough to ask people to pay $25 to get through to all of our tables. So by the time they get through at least 3/4 of it, then the masses will come in and it won't be so crowded for them. But here's the exciting part. We're ending it at 6 instead of 7 because 4 people came in last year between 6 and 7. And that last hour makes you literally want to go outside and jump off one of the many bridges in Pittsburgh. So good. See, look, Adam's laughing. I knew I would do it. So we're closing it at 6. We're going to start wrapping everything up at 5, making announcements, and it will be a shorter day. That last hour, it just drags. And people have been asking me for years to shut it down earlier, and we're doing it this year. There's info about the West End. So you're not supposed to tear your space down until 6. We ask because people do stay, because we ask you to not go and get your car unless you're completely packed up, because if they let you drive onto the thing and you're onto the space, what's it called, the floor of the room, you'll block traffic and it makes it harder. So if you have to store things in your car, like let's say you pack stuff up and you've got to like put extra stuff that doesn't fit in your booth in your car, then plan to not be able to drive onto the lot. We'll have you park this year and bring things up that way, just to like try and get the flow, the in and out. I do think this year will be a lot better because we'll have the 2 ramps open. So things that you're going to have at the event, obviously, and we'll talk about this actually, I'm going to skip this because we're going to talk about this in the booth display. A little bit about the Handmade Arcade event planning process. It is intense. I am one person trying to get 250 booths set up in 4 hours. It takes a lot of complicated little detailed things. And I try not to send too many emails, but I have been accused of sending too many emails. I try not to. I communicate with you guys there will be a page called For Makers on the website, which will have all the information that's sent via email. There'll be a Facebook private group where I'll post all of the information, and I will send emails. It's important that you read the emails. If you don't really want to read the emails, it's important that you read these other things because little things change. The most important thing for me, is when I send out the vendor map, it's a quick turnaround from when I've got to have the map finalized from when I send it to you, just take a look at it. Because what you don't want to have happen is me accidentally put you next to somebody that makes the exact same thing as you. It's happened, which is why I send it out. Also, you don't want me to have accidentally like copy and pasted your name and like misspelled it or something. So just find yourself, look at who your neighbors are, check out who they are, make sure I didn't put a screen printed t-shirt person next to a screen printed t-shirt person, if that's what you make. I did that one year and I still am getting shit about it from one of the screen printed t-shirt people, and the other one hasn't ever applied again. So, and I feel awful about it. So, I need a little help because I make mistakes. And I apologize in advance for the emails. I try every year to like minimize them, but it's just a lot of information to share. We consistently get feedback that we are one of the best run shows that people do. So it has a lot to do with the communication. You'll need insurance. Because you came through the ACRE program, you weren't required to read. I don't think you were. I can't remember the terms and conditions. So I'd like I'll share this. I'll share this in the whoops. I'll share this in the chat later. But if you go to the actual application, which is hahm23.arcall.org, and click on terms and conditions, just like take a quick read through that, because it tells you what you can and can't do. Like, for example, convention center is a green building. You can't bring helium balloons. I didn't know that until one year a vendor came in carrying a thing of balloons, and one of the convention center people, I watched them chase him down and tell him you can't have those. So there's like rules that the convention center has that are outside of my control. You also need to have insurance, and you need to have and you're responsible for paying all taxes. The city of Pittsburgh used to require that I give them a list of vendors participating in the event to get our permit. They don't do that anymore. They've revamped their system. So like, I don't know if you need to get a permit specifically for selling in Pittsburgh since you're out of state. So that's something you'll have to look into on your own, or possibly talk to Katie about. She might know that. I know in the past you had to, but everything has changed in the past couple of years. So nobody's ever come around and said, let me see your permit, ever. So like, if you don't have it, like, I mean, I'm not gonna, and because I'm only one person, I don't require you to prove to me that you have insurance. I just have to go play a game of trust there. But you should have business insurance. If you need to know more about business insurance, I highly recommend the Artists, Craftsmen, and Tradesmen, actinsurance.com. We don't have any affiliation with them at all, but they're really inexpensive and they're really nice. There's no free internet service at the convention center. I would suggest not using it if you can, and setting up a hotspot with your phone. It's really expensive and it's spotty. It's like $80 for the day, and you'll go to get back on it and it'll have logged you out. The only way around it is for Handmade Arcade to pay $7,000 to turn the Wi-Fi on in the room, but I can't even afford to hire an assistant, so I can't give you Wi-Fi as much as I would like to, because we're a nonprofit. I'm going to ask everyone to make a raffle basket donation. The reason why I do this is it's one of our big fundraisers. It brings in a couple $1,000s, and it's one of the reasons we're able to keep the event free. It keeps us from charging, and keeping us from charging keeps the attendance rates high. Eventually, someday, we're going to have to start charging for the event. We're going to, even if it's just like $3, but for now, we're not there yet. So if you're able to make a donation, we're not asking you to give us something that's like worth hundreds of dollars. We're asking you to give us something that's like a small seller, like 25, $5 to $25 value. We put together baskets, and you'll get an email about that. But I just like to throw that in here. Electricity. I have to double check this with Katie. The convention center charges us for every plug we use, and it's $135 per person who uses a plug, and they literally go around and count. It's really, really rude. That adds up fast. So what we do is we charge individual vendors who need electricity $65. So when we do your intake form to get the pictures and things like that, there'll be an option for you to pay for electricity. Kate and I will figure this out. We did talk about it, but I have a really bad memory for things like this. So I don't know the exact details that we discussed. I don't think you need it. Unless you're selling lamps, you don't need electricity. Just bring yourself a fully charged cell phone, bring battery packs, and you can create a hotspot, and you can do everything there. You don't need, it's the lighting. We're on the second floor. The lighting is phenomenal. You don't need lighting. So like, I really, truly, unless your display really needs electricity, my recommendation is to not get it. You don't need it. Okay, so we're talking about the virtual catalog. like I said, it's really silly for you not to do it. It's so after the event, we'll keep it open for a while, and people will go and look for you on it. And let me stop the share and show you like what happens if, oh wait, no, I don't want to stop the share. I want to leave. So if you go to our website, you go to our website and you go to past events. So you click past events. If you don't create a virtual market page and you go to our past event, you won't appear here. So like, let's say like, and this happens all the time. People email me all the time. I bet you at least a couple times a week I get an email saying, I was at your event and I really wanted to buy, and they describe in depth some product to me. And I usually like 89% of the time know exactly who they're talking about. But if I don't, I go here and I click through until I figure it out, and then I email them back. But if you don't create the virtual marketplace, you're not going to show up here, because this is all database driven. So make that page. It's really not complicated. I've really worked hard on making it as simple as possible, creating a checklist to gather items together for it. Let's see. Okay. So about the event itself, we'll take a break and then I'll dive into my booth display. Does anybody have any questions about just the holiday market itself?
I actually had a question, Trisha, about the virtual thing. Last year, when I filled mine out, I put myself under paper goods, and I probably should have put it under artwork. Can I change that this year?
Yeah, you'll be able to change it. So when you filled out the form for this program, did you have to choose a category?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Well, the way that it works, if you apply, so for this year, whatever category I think that I did have that on the form.
Okay.
So if you're a new maker, I'll create a page and you'll get an email closer to the event with your login and all of that. And whatever you applied with is what I'll assign to you. But if you're logging in from a past year, you can change that. You can change that category. The only thing we ask is if you are applying through if you come in through the traditional way next year, you have to keep your category what you applied with, because we're really strict about like you can only bring what you applied with. Like, for example, if you're a woodworker and you sent us pictures of, wood, like bowls and pens and utensils, and then you show up at the event with like felt pennants, we're going to tell you to take the felt. I mean, I've actually never done this, but I should tell you to take the felt pennants off your table. We're actually starting to crack down on a little bit more with our instructions this year, because we accepted somebody else with felt pennants and you didn't tell us you were bringing that, and that's outside of the scope of what you applied with. So for you guys, that's a little bit different because you're coming in a different way, so you can sort of bring whatever works for you. But in the future, that's like something to be important. So like, let's say, for example, you make like a mishmash of things and you make all kinds of stuff like felt pennants, wood bowls, metal jewelry. We would recommend you apply under other, and then that gives you sort of like a more free thing. But be careful when you apply under other, because we get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications for other, and we usually only accept like 30 of the others in.
All right, fair enough.
So that's helpful. Yeah, so that should be helpful. And then so you can change that. Does anybody else have any questions about?
I have one. So Beth and I are applying for a double space this year.
Yeah.
Is that literally just gonna be two spaces? Because I know like Studebaker had like a big old thing, but I think that
Studebaker gave me $5,000 last year.
I was gonna say like their thing was enormous, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
I just want to know what to prepare for. That's all.
Yeah, Studebaker was that sponsor of the hands-on activity area last year, which is like a $5,000 level sponsorship. Nice. So that's why they had that huge space. The double spaces will be probably against the wall, or possibly at the ends of the aisles. Like, I don't know if you remember where Una Biological was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They were sponsors. So the ones at the end were sponsors, but usually the regular ones. Also, that price has gone up from $600 to $700. I don't know if that matters. I mean, we had to increase prices a little bit this year because everything's gone up. But yeah, you'll get two tables, you'll still get two chairs, and you'll get a 20-foot by 10-foot space.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to talk about the booth display stuff now. Okay. No. Hold on. Oh, come on. What am I? No, that's not what I want to. I'm not even sharing the screen yet, and I'm already confused. And let me go back. Let me go back to screen share so you can watch me flub around on this while I get it set up. Super fun times. Okay. 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 So, move this over here. Okay. So for the black backdrops and signs, is this, do you guys have a black bar blocking this, or is it just me?
Just you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just you.
Okay, great. Okay. So when you're doing an indoor market, you're going to be back to back with other people. So you want to make sure. So I used to sell, and it was pitiful. It was just pitiful. It was pitiful. This was my table. There was like always stuff next to me. I never had a behind the scenes sign. This is my best friend. I made her sell for me while I was running around like a lunatic. It was fun because I love to sew and make things, but just got to the point where I just couldn't compete with people with bigger signs. So the best way to separate your space is with the backdrop, so that you don't see who's behind you. And because that kind of looks awful. And also it gives you a little bit of like a boundary between you and the people behind you, so that you're not like bumping into each other or getting in each other's spaces. So this is Debbie. She's one of the Handmade Cakes founders. She and her husband used to make they used to make little coasters out of vinyl records. They would cut them and then they would make bowls. These sold like hot cakes. I always show Debbie's display because there's two things about it. There's one thing about it that I like and one thing about it that I hate. I thought it was really cool the way that it was called Vinyl Resting Place. And they created this huge backdrop. This is just like a $35 photography backdrop that many, many makers use from Amazon. And they used all the album covers to make their backdrops. So the people who are really into music would be like attracted to it. And you would walk up to it and like, what are you making? And they would cut records into like 4 squares and polish them off and then put like a felt on the bottom of them to make coasters out of albums. But what I thought was really bad about this display is so you can't really see their products on here because they're tablecloth. It's super fun and colorful, but it masks the product. So because these are like dark products, I would have if I were them, I would have chosen like a bright orange or a brightly colored plain piece of fabric to go on there, so that you can your product pops. Because when you're walking past, you see this background, but you don't really see the product, and then people may not stop. So that's advice number 1 from me. We're going to talk more about backdrops and signs. So a lot of times makers have signs that hang over their table, but what you have to think about is when you're at the holiday event, there could be 25 people in your booth at once. And so people like someone who's walking past might be like, oh my gosh, those things are so cute. I'm going to remember what their name was. But if she didn't have this horrible, adorable sign up here behind her, then just had this, people walking past wouldn't remember her name, and they wouldn't be able to come back and find her if it was really crowded, if they had a map and they were trying to figure out how to circle her on a map. So I think it's just like another example of just another way to do a backdrop. These were just very simple pieces of wood. And you can see that they just fold down, and she used laundry line. And this is made from the felt that matches her really adorable. She would make these like taxidermy critters that were just ridiculously adorable and horrible, but per the name. And I also thought that in this instance, using like a colorful fabric was fine, because the way she set up her products to be up with black behind them, they really popped and you could see them. So like the difference between, this really colorful tablecloth versus this one, it just is like, it's dependent upon who you are as a maker and what you're selling. This is a vendor Malagueta. She's been a part of Handmade Arcade for many years. She makes these beautiful, she's a clothing maker. She makes these beautiful skirts, and she makes these like they're like they're not bean bags, but they're similar. They're like stools that you sit on. I always like her. She has like this is just a big embroidery loop that she took, and I believe she had this screen printed. So it hung high. So it was like kind of a fun play on, she did a lot of embroidering on her clothes. So it was like a play on what she was doing and in part of her sign, which I always thought was smart. One of the things about this picture, though, that has always driven me crazy is that when you're at an event with thousands of people, she's sitting there and she's working on her product, which like I think is not the best choice. I think you should be standing. I think you should be open to speaking. You don't have to stand and smile, but you should try to, like, you know, don't be sitting down where people can't see you if someone's talking to you. Don't be looking down at your phone unless you're running a transaction. You know, have your, like, be looking up, be making eye contact. It makes a ton of difference. And then I always show this picture. So this was the GPAC Framers Market. They come to Handmade Arcade and they frame prints. It's a fundraiser for them, and they've done it a couple of times. And this year we gave them a really big space, and they did okay, but they didn't do as well as they could because no one could find them. Everyone was looking for them, but they couldn't find them because their sign was on the ground and they had a sign here. So if they had just had a sign up behind them, they were at the end of an aisle close to the food area, people would have been able to find them. Once we explained to people where they were able to find them, but having your signage down low is a big no-no. These are just more backdrops and signs. Again, like for this Courgette person, I would have hung it here, but they did put a sign up here on their shelving behind them. I think that their use of the black tablecloth because of their super colorful items is really great. And I think that they're using vertical space, which I'll talk about a little bit better in an okay way, but they could have really taken a little bit more advantage of it. But you can see, like, these are crocheted plants, and so they have a planter here. So they're sort of tying in what they're making with their display items, which is cute. And I think this is a planter, a plant stand as well. And then they brought a lightweight shelving unit behind them to hang, and they just hung a white sheet back there to give them like the space that I was talking about between themselves and their makers around them. This guy was a cartoon artist. He made magazines and comics. Sorry, he would get really mad at me if he knew I called his comics cartoons. He would do these comic books, and they were really, really popular. But because he didn't have a lot of them, and because of the way his product was, it was flat on the table. So he printed a page of all of his characters from his comic books and hung it behind him. And it was a really effective way. And you can see he made this out of PVC pipe. If you look closely, that's PVC pipe. So one of the things about Handmade Arcade is just like have this in a weird way so I can't see you guys, and I don't like it. Let me try this again. Another thing we talk about with any market is using your vertical space. So just trying to no, sorry. Okay, that's better. Okay, so this person, Christine Shirley, she's a clothing maker. And I always show this picture because she has way too much stuff out. Way too much stuff. Like way too much. So like you go in there and you're like, what's happening here? What are you selling? There's so many things to look at. I'm so confused. She's got things hanging down here that people will never see. She's got way too much stuff on her clothing rack. She could take out half of that. If you're making clothing and you've got even if they're not exactly the same and they're all individual, only hang like a couple of them, like so that people can look at them. And then if someone's looking at something that's similar to something else that you have, you can just say to them, hey, I have more of those if you're interested. And so like I always think that, and I think that like her backdrop, it's just too much. What she did was she which I think this is a smart idea. She used a pop-up tent to create her space, a 10 by 10 pop-up set, and she took the top of it off, which you can absolutely do. She used it to hang things off of it, but I just think that like it just got too cluttered, and you don't want to put everything out all at once because it's like Handmade Arcade in and of itself is like a sensory overload. It's so you want to make sure that you're only putting out like a sweet spot amount of stuff. So don't put everything out. Don't make us have a sparse table, but there's like a way to, and at the event, I'll say this now because it's June, but if you do it to me at the event, I'll probably be like, I can't do that. But if you want on Friday night, be like, Trisha, do I have too much stuff out? I can probably run over to your table and tell you. But that I will preface that with, if you come up to me on Friday and say, you said back in June that you would do this, I might be like, well, I'm not doing that right now. So just prepare yourself. I get a little out of my mind at these events. This is a t-shirt maker. He just built this out of PVC pipe, and he would pop it together when he got there, and he would hang his t-shirts on it, and then he would have his t-shirts in bins and sizes. So it was kind of like when you go to a concert and you go up to the concert thing and you're like, I want that Taylor Swift t-shirt in a medium and that sweatshirt in a large, and here's my $7,000. That's kind of what he did. So, and I thought this was a really smart, crisp, clean way to have a display. So you want it, when I talk about using your vertical space, I talk about using like going high. Convention center ceilings are very high. Go as high as you want within reason of like your ability to manage it, and also making sure it doesn't tipple over. We had a maker many years ago. They went too high. This was one of the worst things that ever happened. They were putting something up and it was too high, and it tipped over into the Pittsburgh Glass Center's booth, and it broke a whole tree's worth of ornaments. And I can't believe nobody got stabbed. Like, it was a moment. It was like, if I could have recorded the diplomacy with which I handled that, I could have won an award, because it was bad. So you have to be careful about that kind of stuff. Using your vertical space also can mean like stacking things on your table. Like this artist makes some very like sort of shabby chic jewelry. So she fashioned her table to do that. And what I think is smart about when you use crates like this, she packed all of her stuff in her crates so that it's easy storage. You use your what you're bringing in, you're using at your table. That way you don't have to worry about putting it back in your car and worrying about how you're going to pack back up at night. It's a really simple solution. I like, if you look here, she's got leather cuffs on here. It's a rolling pin. She probably bought these and decoupaged them herself. I mean, it's a little, like, for me, a little pattern overload, but I'm not a real big pattern person, but for the style of this maker, it fit. And I thought it was a good job. They put out a lot of they put out a lot of stuff, but not all of their stuff. This is just another example of this maker has actually, this was like early on in her career, and she's changed her packaging, her display stuff a lot, but she has underneath here, like, one of the things that I think, if you can, one of the things that drives me crazy are wrinkled tablecloths. So if you can get like a heavier duty one that doesn't wrinkle, do that. Or if you I make one of the volunteers, who's one of my dear friends, steam all of ours when we come in, but we are the presenters, so we should be a little bit crisper. But I think that, like, people won't really notice that because it'll be so crowded. But she basically like she created layers on her table using the boxes and the things that she brought her stuff in with, which is like a way to create space and think about storage. Here's another maker, another t-shirt maker. Their booth was actually, I think so, they had their t-shirts hanging like over top of these little crates that they had, like these are like dorm crates that they stacked up, and then if you wanted the vegan t-shirt, they had them stacked behind that, so they would just go in there and get it for you. And then they had their t-shirts up high on the mannequins, the half mannequins. They had one facing one direction, and then you can see there's one facing the other direction. And so that way, as people were walking past and they saw it up high, and Pittsburgh is like crazy for zombies, so they smartly had their zombie t-shirts up high, and they did a really good that really brought people in. And so you want to think of Handmade Arcade, it's a gift market. We're not a traditional arts fair. We're not a fine arts fair. People are coming with a list from their uptight brother to their super quirky aunt. So like I have a really uptight brother. But he comes to Handmade Arcade every year. He's actually one of the few people I know who bought an original painting once and spent like $750. He's a doctor, spent like $750 on a painting once. And he was so excited about it. And then the maker messaged me and was like, your brother bought a painting for me. And then when I went to his house and I saw it, I like, because I'm a nonprofit professional, I expected it to be gigantic. And it was like really tiny. It was like this, but it was beautiful. And I was so happy that he found value in it and spent that much money, because that's a high ticket item. So you want to make sure you're thinking about that. It's a gift market. What are you willing to spend? Make sure you have high ticket items, but also make sure you have things that people can buy without overthinking it too much. This maker, Busy Hook Happy Heart, I really like her. I think she crochets beautiful things, beautiful hats, but I think it's too much. Like, I think what she has up here with the hats, I think that's a really good idea. She's got them up high, so as you're walking past, you can see them. But when you get up to it, it's a lot. It's a lot to look at and a lot to dig through and a lot to see. And I would imagine it gets messy really easily. But again, it's like she's got hats, crocheted hats. So she probably wants to have a lot of them out. And they have different, I think her pom-poms are interchangeable. But what's smart about her is that people are going to try it on. So she has mirrors here. So you want to think about that. And I think what's smart about her, she's got a lot of stuff going on. She's also got a lot of signs. She shows people, see that right there? She's got a picture she's wearing her cowl there, but she's got a picture showing people how to wear it. She's got, she's showing them how it works. And she's got prices, and she's got what credit cards she takes. So that's like another thing that's really, really important. Like, and then her fun facts up here. If you have something fun that's custom, you want to put it out there. So she's got custom orders accepted, no animal fiber used, appreciate your business. Something that's like people want to know, make a sign, put it out there. And this is one of those like signs that you can change up, which I think is fun. It's really, really important in a big market that all of your stuff's priced. If it's not priced individually, it's priced so that you can see, like right here, t-shirts, $22. Somebody's going to want to come and buy something from you. They're going to be in your booth. They're going to pick it up. They're not going to see a price on it. You're going to lose that customer. If you're talking to somebody else, they're going to walk away. If you're able to talk to them at the moment, they'll probably buy it from you. But if they pick it up, there's no price and you can't talk to them, you're going to lose a sale right there. So price your stuff. And it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to, she has tags on everything. You can do that. I think that's smart. But you can also have if you're selling, mugs, and they're all different and you've got hundreds of them and you don't want to put tags on each mug, you can have them all like in the same area in your booth, and a sign that says mugs, $25 each, $40, 2 for 40, whatever. Just making that up. This is Pike Leather. She does a really good job of minimal, which I think is great. I'm not sure if she's still selling these. This is from a couple years ago, but she sold like gangbusters at this event. She created, these are those drop down window shade signs. She had them created. So they just like fold up into like a small thin tube. So she would put them up when she got there. These are display items. You can get these at displays2go.com. They're very inexpensive. They're grid wall. They're very inexpensive. They're very lightweight. They're very easy to transport. And they come with a variety of, you can also get them at Home Depot and maybe Lowe's. But they come with, you can get hooks for them. You can get tables that hook onto them, shelves. So she had a couple of those around her booth, and she hung her bags with tags. And then she just didn't, you can see she didn't put everything out. She put a selection of all of her pieces out, and then as they would sell. These are really great. They don't have them anymore, but they used to sell these at IKEA. And I have them from when I used to sell. They're just little picture frames that you can screw the bottom off and slide pictures in and out, and her pricing was all there. So she was someone that she's not going to want to stick a tag or put a pin in her leather to in these small pieces. So you can see how many prices she had there. Think of your space as a tiny store. Everyday Balloons, they don't do Handmade Arcade anymore. They moved somewhere to the center of the state, and it breaks my heart because I love them. But they had, this is a 10 by 10 space. They have been around forever. They've been around probably as long as Handmade Arcade. They've built their business. They have a booming wholesale business. They have a store somewhere in a couple hours away. But when they used to do Handmade Arcade, and when they do events probably near where they live, they would build this. They invested, in these like white walls and these silver. These are in like just if you search, I think displays2go.com has them, but if you search like vendor display, you know, setups, you'll find them, and you can hang things on them. Strawberry Luna, who also does the event every year, she has the same setup, and you can hang your prints on them. And they just do a really good job of like, you can see like they've got a bunch of different t-shirts, but you can see by their color groupings that they probably only have out like an extra small, medium, large, extra large. They don't have everything out. They have one size of each of their designs. So I think that they did a really good job of making a 10 by 10 space feel like a store. And then these are lights, but they were battery pack lights, so they didn't have to pay for electricity. Americana does the same thing. I have absolutely no idea how they did this. They built these, I don't know how these shelves worked, but they must have been easy and lightweight to do, because I mean, they're pretty big if you look at them. But they had to have built them in a way. A lot of times makers will custom build their own stuff. And they have their bags sitting on them. So that's like, you know, it was really colorful and nice. The one thing that I would have said to them if they ever asked me, or if they ever sit through my presentation and see themselves, that they should have a sign behind them. That is going to get lost when people are in their store. And so this is just like another example. Fia Jean, she's same thing. She has these pegboards and different, these are shutters that she repurposed and put hinges on, and then hung her like sweatery drapey things that she made. And then this is Kayla Rebel, and I love this. This is one of my favorite things that people do. They bring two old, it's heavy and it can be cumbersome, but they bring two old you know, wooden ladders, and then they just put planks on it. So it lays flat in your car, but then it opens up and it gives you a lot of space, a lot of options, a lot of, you know, ability to like, to show things. And then she used the space really smartly by, there's earrings, there's prints, there's cuffs up there. So that's just another example. This is Matt. He owns Alternate Histories. I would tell Matt to put his sign up high. He also, I show this picture as what not to do. This maker had grid wall that they built, and they hung their stuff on the other side of their grid wall. And I walked, this was like another moment in time that I wish I had on video. I was like power walking to the back, and I'm walking past Matt's display. He's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life, and he's not going to ever dust anything up. And I walked, and then I backed up, like didn't even turn around. Like I walked backwards, and I said, Matt, are these yours? And he said, no, they're the other people's. And I said, they can't hang those there. That's your space. And he said, I know, I didn't want to say anything. And I was like, no, we'll take those down. So I went around the corner and I said, hey guys, like, I appreciate you wanting to maximize your space, but you're in Matt's space now, and this is confusing, and it looks like it's his. So you can't have them there. And they stopped applying too, but I don't think that was the reason they stopped applying. I think they were a partnership that broke up. So that's something, just don't do that. It's not, it's just not nice. This is one of my examples of a maker glow up. The first time Kim of Worker Bird did Handmade Arcade, this was 2012. So this was like years ago. People didn't have the big displays they do now. This was like our second time at the convention center. She was just doing woodblock prints, and she just had this big table. And then now her display, even since 2018, I should put a more recent one in. She makes quilts out of tin. And so for this display, she was hanging quilts on her grid wall and then hanging stuff on the grid wall because it fit her theme. But she's gotten even like sleeker and like neater and more streamlined. But it's just an example of like, you know, you can start here. You don't have to be here. This is like everybody at Handmade Arcade starts in a different place. So you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money, but you want to think about certain things so that you're not all flat on your table. Some things you can do to go beyond shelves. This person is, he makes a bunch of stuff, but he makes these, I think this was a student, these were youth makers, and they were using like a laser cutter to make ornaments. And they just brought a holiday tree, Christmas tree, and like a thin one, so it didn't take up too much space, and hung them so people understood what they were. This is an artist who, these are all individually tiny little paintings, and this is their actual easel that they use. So they brought their easel and they figured out a way, they put pins or something in this board and they hung all their paintings on it. And that's kind of a fun way to like bring a little bit of your studio into your space. This artist, you know, she was upcycling leather and jean jackets, and this is just like just different ways to use mannequins. It was fun. This artist has changed her layout so many times, but this was just a pegboard at one point, like on her tabletop, and all of her necklaces hanging on it. This artist has constantly just tweaking and developing, and this is from years ago. I should try and find a more recent one, but this was really effective because every one of her necklaces is different because they're made out of antique brooches, so everyone's different. So this way you can see, you could see them. And then this was a big, kind of like a rusted wheel that somebody, like a rim that they had drilled holes in and secured, which was really cool because this was like a metal, kind of like a punk rocky sort of artist who sort of made like steampunk sort of stuff. So their display was sort of steampunky, and they had stuck a dowel rod in there and they hung their earrings on it. So it's just like some creative ideas. And you can go to places like Construction. I don't know if you guys have anywhere near you, but in Pittsburgh, there's Construction Junction, which is like a resale, like a recycling warehouse for, and it has tons of stuff in it. Like you'll find the craziest. If you go to I don't know if it's still there. For the spring market, we were there. We have a spring market there every year, and they had an autopsy table there. They've never had anything like that before. And I'm good friends with the COO, and she let me lay on it, and then I took a picture of myself going like this, which I thought was hilarious and adorable. It's my face, it's my profile picture. So like they have crazy stuff there. You can find so many different things in so many creative ways. This is just pegboard, like simple pegboard that they painted, and they put hinges on it, super cheap, and then they hung their embroidery on it. This artist, she prints her own fabric, and then she makes underpants out of them, and it's really colorful and fun. And I think she makes hats too and scarves. And so she just hangs them. Like, I mean, she literally, these are just poles. There's lights. You can see there's lights on them, but you don't really need them. You can see that you don't really need the lights because the light, it's so bright in our room. So she has her prices here, easy to find sizes. She's got them in these colorful little, her underwear are really colorful. So her display is really colorful. And she just hangs them there. I just think that's fun. She's also like tweaked her stuff over the years and made it more streamlined. Also like think about, like coat racks, like for bags, stuff like that. So if you're trying, there's like two ways to do this, right? You can go really high end and really pay a lot of money for a really expensive display. Or if you're not there yet and you're still figuring things out, you don't have to. You can go to salvage stores, flea markets, thrift stores. In Pittsburgh, there's Construction Junction, the Center for Creative Reuse. IKEA used to be good for stuff. I haven't been to an IKEA since before the pandemic, so I have absolutely no idea if it's still good for inexpensive stuff. The Target, dollar stores, like you don't have to like spend tons and tons of money. You can really like think outside the box. Think about suitcases, magazine racks, colorful boxes. Some makers use cupcake stands. Like a lot of people use like kind of cooking display stuff on their tables because it works well with smaller craft items. Coat racks. You can get coat racks and clothing racks pretty inexpensively on Amazon. I mean, a lot of this stuff you can get pretty inexpensively on Amazon or at Walmart or Target. Mannequins and dress forms, they can get expensive. So that's when you want to like keep an eye out on salvage stores. Like my mannequins that I have were from Construction Junction because like when stores go out of business and they don't use them, they don't know where they go. So or you can like look for them on eBay. I think one of the ones I used to have was from eBay, but the ones that Handmade Arcade owns are definitely from Construction Junction. Laundry racks, drying racks, clotheslines, clothespins. Really you can just kind of get really creative, make it match your stuff. Like if you're selling, sort of like a shabby chic thing, you don't want to like, maybe you want to stick with that. If your stuff is like really like sleek and streamlined, you might want to like, you want to kind of match your theme of your stuff. to what you're selling. Small details that make a big difference. Like I talked about, don't put everything out. Smaller items can be tabletop, have a sample or two hung up. This is don't do this anymore. This is a long time ago. So you can use PVC pipe to create custom backdrops. Photo studio backdrops from Amazon are $35, and you can get printed pretty big vinyl banners from Vistaprint pretty inexpensively, and you can get grommets put in them, and then you can roll it up and keep it, zip tie it up every time. Just kind of consider matching your setup in your booth. Things that are good. So like if you have a product that doesn't, like, people aren't going to understand what it is like right away, bring a picture of someone using it or have it like displayed in that way. I used to make these really, really cool. This was like so long ago. So my first handmade arcade, I was pregnant with my now 16-year-old daughter. So this is how long I've been doing this. I used to make kids stuff, and I would make this changing pad. And this was like before they had nice kids things. Like now everything's nice and cheap and you can go to Target and buy the coolest stuff. But back 100 years ago when I was pregnant, it was all terrible. And if you didn't like Winnie the Pooh, you were SOL. I hate Winnie the Pooh. So I was making these changing things that they like opened up, and they were like a bag, and you could put your diaper and your changing stuff in it, and they folded up and they velcroed together into like a small square, but then they opened up and they completely covered a public changing room thing. And they were really fun and colorful and great. Nobody understood what they were until I took a doll one day and I had it set up with like a baby doll on it with a diaper, so people understood it. So things like that you might want to think about. I always say do a test at home. If you can, take pictures. It'll help you to set up the day of the show. If you can't and you're doing a show, always take a picture of your booth before shows start, for a couple of reasons. One, like we require booth, like we don't require, but we ask if you have a booth display to share it so we can see what your display is going to look like when you apply. Some shows will require one, but also if you have a picture of it and you're like me, sometimes like I would get to shows and just be like, what did I do last time? Because I was always I didn't have like a set display. So it helped me stay focused. Or if I had like my mom or a friend helping me set up, they could refer to that and know what to do. Don't put all your stock out as it depletes. Add more. Rearrange your table if you're selling out to just make it look less bare. I would say, like I said, take photos up before you open so you can refer back to it. And, like talk to, so if you see somebody who has a great display item, ask them where they got it. What I would ask you not to do, which we've had happen before, we've had vendors go into other vendors' spaces, like make a video of their space and then like replicate it. Like, don't copy, like be yourself. Don't copy other people's displays to the T. That was an uncomfortable conversation that I had to have. So, this guy, this Jowdy Studio, he makes these bowls. They're like crazy beautiful, really expensive. He brings this display that I think he made this so that when he's done, it just like kind of folds down nice and flat, which I think is really smart. And these are actually Monica and Kelly, who own Love Pittsburgh. I don't know if any of you guys would be eligible to sell them, but this is something that happens at Handmade Arcade. These women own 3 stores in Pittsburgh, one in Mount Washington, one in the Strip District, and one downtown, and they sell only handmade stuff made by Pittsburgh artists. So folks who come, and they are looking for new vendors for their store constantly. So you're going to want to, that's like another reason to have stuff at your table that someone can take away, have a QR code or something they can scan, and have the virtual market page, because wholesalers come to Handmade Arcade looking for stuff. And don't forget, you're part of your booth. So don't be like crocheting or knitting or making it if you have to fix something, that's one thing, but don't stand up as much as you can. Audrey this woman, she doesn't sell anymore. She only does wholesale, but she would set her space up so that she couldn't even sit down. She and her husband, they would dress crazy. They had the best attitudes. They were tons and tons of fun. I actually really miss them. And she would wear her money and her credit card thing she has like a leather pouch on. And she just like she sold like gangbusters. And I think it's because she interacted with everybody that came into her booth in some way. And she just had the best, like most positive spirit. if you're not good at that kind of stuff, because sometimes artists aren't, bring somebody who's good at talking all day long, or switch out, like, you know, tag team. Don't do this alone. You cannot do this alone. It is exhausting. And, you know, make sure that if there's no one in your booth right at the time and someone's walking past, like, well, say hello to people as they're walking by. It will feel empty and slow Friday night and during the early bird, because we only sell, like I said, like 600 to 800 tickets, and the room is huge. But once the show gets going, you won't feel like I have to talk to people as they walk past. So I don't know if you guys want me to talk about pricing, but always mark your pricing, name your items, provide a small description. So if you don't already know this, like, your prices should be the same as what you're selling everywhere else. Like, you shouldn't be selling, unless you're having like a Handmade Arcade like item sale or something, like something special that you're only selling at Handmade Arcade. But like, you don't want to be selling something for $40 in one place, 60 in another, and then at Handmade Arcade, you know, you're undervaluing yourself. Keep your prices consistent across the board. People at holiday events love to think like they're getting a deal. So if you can sell something like tea towels, like one for 10, 3 for 25, mix and match, like something like that, people love that. People love groups and choices. And if there's something special, like, it's people who come to Handmade Arcade in particular, they love, they're very eco-conscious. They love people who are upcycling, recycling, making things from like locally made. If you're, you know, so if there's something like that that you can put into your signage, put it into your signage. And this won't pertain to you, but if you are selling, sometimes, I don't know if this is still the case, but because it's like everything has kind of changed post-pandemic to pre-pandemic, but I know some shops had like, some shops in Pittsburgh, and actually I think they've all closed, had like a not like a non-compete. So like, if you were doing a market, like, they wouldn't want you to do a market within so many miles, so you'd have to let them know. And then, like, think about retail versus a marketplace. So like, if you're doing something like, let's say you are knitting a sweater and it takes you hours and hours and hours to do it, and in order to like make it up, you have to charge like $350 for it. Like, you have to charge that, because that is how long it took. It is beautiful. It is well made. You want to bring it, but like, don't be super disappointed if it doesn't sell, but bring it, because people will see it and they'll think about it. Like, there are a couple clothing vendors at Handmade Arcade specifically who make beautiful, beautiful items, and they're very expensive, and a lot of times people have to think about it. Like, I've been thinking about buying a jacket from Otto Finn for 5 years. Someday I'll make enough money to go to Otto Finn's booth and buy a jacket. She knows that I do this. I come to her booth and she's like, is this the year? And I'm like, no, my kids are going to college now. I can't afford one, but someday I won't have teenagers. I won't have kids in college. You know, I don't know. I'll just go in there and I'll buy one. So, but bring it, because people will think about it. They will buy it. They might buy it later. That's important, but also have like the smaller price. And then just like what to bring, signs, bags. I think it's a good idea to have bags. I think it's a good idea to brand your bags, even if it's just a brown paper bag with like a stamp on it. So there's like, I'm going back and forth with makers now, like this conversation about whether or not to have contact or promotional materials or business cards, because people collect them, but then they end up just throwing them away. So like, you know, you can have some, you could do a QR code on your table. So lots of like, there's like, you know, different people for, you know, different folks who do different things. Like, my kids will scan QR codes and save them. My mom will pick up postcards. You've got people from you know, all generations with different wants. So you're going to want to have a little bit of both. You know, you'll always have change, fully charged cell phone, credit card reader, signs, a friend. And always have something to cover your table, because the tables are rented and they're disgusting. What to bring? Here's mirrors. I always have a self-care supply bag, chapstick, masking tape, safety pins. If you need something, we have so many supplies up at the welcome table. You can always come up and ask us. The convention itself, and this is for most events, it's a brutal day on a concrete floor. So wear comfortable shoes, bring shoes to change into. I had a vendor once, so fabulous, had on the coolest outfit, wore heels, couldn't even walk at the end of the day. And nobody could see their shoes because they were behind the table all day. I always tell my kids, dehydration is the silent killer. This is me getting dehydrated. I'm turning red because I'm talking and not drinking water. The event itself, you will be able to buy food, but the lines often get very long. So always bring stuff with you to eat. At the convention center, and this is something I didn't think I have to tell you people, but it's a green building. So depending on, and it's like, the heat in the air it's piped in this crazy way. So depending on where you are and what time of day it is, your booth can be boiling hot or freezing cold. So bring layers. Like, it is when you're loading in and the loading docks are up, it's freezing cold. When it gets crowded, it gets hot. When I complain because I'm hot, because I'm in perimenopause, and they put the fans on, and then inevitably some makers right underneath the blower, I can't do anything about that. So just be prepared for temperature fluctuations. Yeah, so that's it. Are there questions? I can see there's something in the chat. Your sister is uptight? Who's that? Oh, I see the YouTube.
No, you said that your brother was
My brother
uptight,
is,
and I said I could relate.
Yeah, actually, while we were
Agreed.
meeting, he called me. I should have answered and been like, talk to these people. So, do you have questions, like stuff I can answer today?
I don't have a question, but it was super helpful for you to go through and show some of those booth displays and like what you liked about him and what you didn't like about him and what you would tell those. Like, that was incredibly helpful. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I have a question for Adam.
Yeah.
Hey, Adam, I have a giant piece of pegboard, and I think I could probably turn it into something to hang artwork off of.
Yeah, totally.
I don't have the...
It's for you.
I can cut it into whatever you need me to.
Cool, thanks.
I have so many saws, it's ridiculous at this point.
Awesome, thank you.
Also, Trisha, those one shelves where you said you didn't know how exactly they worked, they were on like our right side of that booth.
Yeah.
They are basically two accordions, right? So like two brackets like this, I guess like that. Yeah. And then long boards slide through them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
One of our friends uses them. They're awesome. They fold flat. They're really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime you can have display items that fold flat in your car, that's the way to go. Another thing I've seen makers do, like especially like people with fabric stuff, because you don't always get to drive up to your table, and sometimes you have to have a cart. But so I've seen people pack things in like big rolly suitcases or like big rolly like trunky things, so that if they can't drive right up, they can roll their stuff in, and just think about that kind of like mobility issues when
we have a dolly that folds into like every configuration known to man. It's super
great.
I highly recommend buying your own dolly, because if you have to park on the dock, there's only 4 Teamsters, and you are not allowed to push your own dolly if it's the convention centers. You can't. It's like they're contractually not allowed to let you use one of their carts. So if you have your own dolly, you're not beholden to waiting for them. But they're fast. I mean, I always request a certain Teamster, Amy, and I love her and she loves me, and she's fast and she runs that team like gangbusters. So they do a good job. And I know that I don't know if you guys are a part of this group, but I know that there's some folks who might want to be sharing tables. So if you decide to share a table and you figure that out, like, you can reach out to me and I can talk to you about how to split a booth, and we can make sure you have 2 tables if you need it for those booths.
See, part of my problem is that every time I've done an event like this, I have shared a table, and I'm going to be doing this one alone. So now it's like, oh, now I got to get all the stuff that I was usually borrowing from my partner and sharing with her. And
well, when you get, like, you can put it out there in whenever the Facebook groups get set up, like, does anybody have this or that I can borrow? People have been very generous.
Well, I mean, just like her and I, like, we had a banner with both of our names printed on it.
Yeah,
but now I got to get my own.
Yeah.
Also, like Beth and I have tons of stuff. I mean, we've got enough to set up 3 shows at this point. It's ridiculous.
Please let us help you.
Yes, we have so much just stuff. So, yeah.
Come visit me at the Pride Fest on the 10th and tell me how my booth sucks.
No, how good it looks. Start with
I'm sure it'll be fine, Amanda. You have a good eye, so
yeah.
I got 2 of them.
Yeah, you have 2 good eyes, so perfect.
Another thing too that I should say, that if you want to be next to someone that you're friends with, that you want to help each other out, just you have to when you fill out that intake form with the pictures and whatnot, there's a place for special requests. Like Adam and Beth, when you guys, if you guys get into the holiday market, I can't guarantee it for anyone, but I would be shocked if you didn't. So when you apply through the regular routes, when you go to pay, we have a special request, and that's where you can be like, I've had people say, I have IBS, can you put me near the bathroom? Can you put me near this friend? Can you not put me near this maker? We hate each other. Like, so I'm like a vault with this stuff, mostly because like I remember that people ask that, but I never remember who. So you could put in your special requests. I really hate blah, blah, blah. Please put them on the other side of the room. And I will. And then I'll immediately forget. I'll remember that there's somebody that hates somebody, but I won't remember who they are. But yeah, so put in those special requests, and we do our best to accommodate them. And then that's another reason to read the emails, because when you get the map and you can be like, hey, I requested to be next to so-and-so, I'm not, I can make those changes. So anything else? Any other questions? Great.
I just wanted to say that I think this is, well, if we get in this year, this will be what
I mean, like, it's
it'll be our 3rd time doing the in-person, and we did the virtual in 2020.
Yeah, we did.
And we always really look forward to this show, and it's super exciting. Last year, Beth and Autumn were like completely overwhelmed by the number of people in our booth. So I mean, it's really great.
And like honestly, your show is the one that has like probably been the biggest in terms of getting our booth game to like where it is. Yeah. Because like every time we go to that show, we're like, okay, how can we make this better? How can we make it more accessible? How can we make it easier?
And that's probably one of the best parts about Friday night, being able to walk around, because man, there are some booths up there that like, they're unbelievable. Yeah. Like people are hauling stuff in all day, putting it together. So
I remember
some of those unbelievable booths, they're not, because they have it down to a science. Like you would be shocked at how these huge booths how fast some of these makers put them up, or they come in with 4 or 5 people, help them set up, and then they get left alone with like only one person. So you can bring as many people as you need to help too. Like that's like another thing. So like, even though like Friday night is a paid ticketed event, your vendor, if your mom and your grandma and your auntie and your cousins are your helpers, they go through the helper door and they can get into the Friday night event and shop when it's not crowded and help you. So, there's a separate entrance for vendors. So like you can do that. And I recommend help. You can't do this on your own. So, and if you are on your own, or you're going to be on your own for a short time or whatever, last year we had a really good system. We asked anyone who was on their own who would need help and need breaks to come up and let us, and we kept like a timetable, and we would have volunteers check on them, and they would give them bathroom breaks. We can't sell for you, and we can't go buy food for you. Like we can't handle your money, but a volunteer can stand at your table. You can have bathroom break or whatever. So if you're coming on your own, definitely bring food, because sometimes those lines can just be crazy long for the convention center food. I literally think that's everything I've ever said about Handmade Arcade in 1 hour and 21 minutes. So, and again, if you need help with pricing, let me know. I'm happy to do that. I think most of you guys are good with that, though. I feel like you guys have been around. You don't need my advice on that. All right, I'm going to count it down from 3, and I'm going to say goodbye. 2, 1. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.